Hi everybody, this is Millie. Welcome to Millie's Meal Planning on a Budget. Today I want to share with you my Mexican pizza recipe. So the first thing I do is make my own dough. So here I have 2 cups of warm water. It needs to be warm but not too hot because if it's too hot it's going to kill the yeast. So there are 2 cups of water here. So I'm going to move it to this bowl here. And then I like to use 1 packet of this dry yeast. Make sure the water is not too warm, otherwise it's going to kill my yeast. Pour the yeast here. I'm going to put 1 teaspoon of sugar. Wait until it forms a foam on top. I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it and put it aside. In the meantime, here I have 5 cups of flour. I like to use the King Arthur flour, and I like to sift it. So I have 5 cups of flour here. And to the flour, I like to add 1 tablespoon of salt. Another thing I like to add to the flour is 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. So I add the garlic powder because I like the crust to have good flavor. You know, some people order roasted garlic as a topping, but I personally prefer to have the garlic flavor in the crust. So now that I added the garlic powder, I'm going to look at my yeast here. Okay, so the yeast did its job. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add flour a little bit at a time until it's all incorporated. You know, I use the King Arthur flour, but you could use whatever kind of flour you have, you know, all-purpose flour that you have. So I only use the King Arthur because that's what I have always used. But sometimes if I don't have it, then I use whatever kind of flour I have. I figure going for a walk with my friend will work out my legs, but this way I get to use my muscle. I don't like it too dry or too wet. So even though I do have 5 cups of flour there, I may not have to use all the flour. I'll just, you know, I'm still going to have to work the dough later when I start forming the pizza. So I'll just keep it aside. I just want to make sure that I have enough flour. You know, and out of this dough, I could probably make 2 good sized pizzas. Because I like the crust thin, I may be able to have 3 pizzas out of this, or a pizza and a bread. So see how far I could take this dough. You know, if I'm gonna make pizza, I'm getting my hands dirty, so I like to make the best out of it, whether it's making pizza or making bread. So I think you have to work it for about 10 minutes maybe. When I get back from walking with my friend in about an hour and a half, I'll see how it has doubled in size. And I'm probably going to leave it for another hour. So I like to check it after an hour and then leave it there for another hour. Actually, the best way to clean your fingers is with the flour. So this is the best way to clean your hands, is with the same flour. You know, I think, you know, you could always buy the dough, but why? This way you make it the way you like it. And, you know, if you go to buy a pizza, nowadays it costs like anywhere from $20 to $25, if not more. I'm also going to do is I have olive oil here. What I do is I put 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and then I cover the dough with the olive oil. Sure that it's completely covered with the plastic. And now I'm going to cover it with this, and I'm going to put it in a nice warm place. And in an hour and a half, when I get back from my walk with my friend, I'll check to see if it has double in size. Okay, so I got back from my walk, and it has been about an hour and 15 minutes or so. So here is the dough, the pizza dough, and it's covered with the plastic. So what I'm going to do is and you see how nice and soft it is? Okay, so I'm gonna punch it down a little bit. What I'll do is I'll cover it again and keep it in there for about another hour. Okay. Actually, one of my followers, Martina, when I made my green sauce enchiladas, I used a can of white beans. Made the recipe, and one thing that she recommended was the fact that she would like to make them again, but to make her own beans. So now I want to show my recipe of my pinto beans. So this is my pinto bean recipe. And this is what I did yesterday. I'm gonna play for you what I did yesterday. I want to share with you my made from scratch pinto bean recipe. So here I have a 16-ounce bag of pinto beans. These are dry pinto beans. But you see, so I'm getting rid of everything that is split in half. And I haven't found any rocks or anything. So this looks good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wash them. So I'm going to wash them thoroughly. I wash the beans, and this is the same process no matter what kind of bean you want to cook. So these are pinto beans, but you could do it with the northern white beans or any kind of bean. So I wash them and I rinse them really well. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the beans in that pot of cold water. And then I'm going to put a little bit of garlic and a little bit of onion powder. And tomorrow morning when I get up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the water. I'll show you what they look like tomorrow. Oh, the beans have been all night in this cold water and they're getting softer. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain the water out and I'm going to rinse them. Okay, so I drained the beans and then I rinsed them. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, this is half an onion. So I cut half an onion into small pieces. Then I'm going to add 3 cloves of garlic. And now I'm going to add 3 bay leaf. Okay. And then here I have 1.5 cups of water. About 2 cups of my chicken broth. And you know, you could cook it with just water if you want to, or you could use vegetable broth. I like to use the chicken broth because it gives it a good flavor. But like I said, it's up to you. So now I'm going to cover it. The beans were soaking all night. It's only going to take about maybe 45 minutes to an hour for the beans to cook. I put the burner on medium and just let them cook. Just keep an eye on them because you don't want them you know, if the water dries out, you don't want the beans to burn. So every so often, you know, just come and check them every so often. While the beans are cooking and the dough is rising, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the Jimmy Dean sausage. I love Jimmy Dean sausage. This sausage, you don't have to add anything to it. You just cook it, and you know, whether it's spicy or mild, whichever way you want it, the flavors are always there, you know. Okay, so I could not find the spicy sausage, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of pepper flakes. That will definitely make it spicy. So, and then of course this is to taste. And now I'm just gonna wait for the sausage to cook. And like I said, this is something, Jimmy Dean sausage is like, their recipe is awesome because it has such a great flavor. Everything you cook will have an amazing flavor. So my Mexican pizza is gonna taste amazing with this. Okay, so I'm gonna cover it and leave it there. I'm gonna put it on low so it can cook in its own juices. So now what I'm going to do is, the beans are cooked. You see, they are soft enough. I don't want them overcooked because I'm gonna use them for other things later. But for now, I'm just gonna put some of the beans in the same pan that I used to cook the sausage, because I want that all those flavors from the sausage to get into the beans. But I am not going to use all the beans, so I'm going to put them aside. And I'm going to turn on the pan, and I'm going to put about 1 teaspoon of taco seasoning. Maybe a little bit more. And then I'm going to put just a pinch, just a little bit of paprika, a smoked paprika. So I put a little bit of the smoked paprika. And then I'm also going to add some cayenne pepper. I want it kind of spicy. I want that kick of that cayenne pepper. You know, they say that cayenne pepper is good for your metabolism. Add a little bit of oregano. And now what I'm going to do, refried beans are looking really good. So now I'm mashing the beans. So to make the refried beans. Now, if you remember, I did not put salt on the beans when I cooked them. So now is the perfect time for me to add a pinch of salt. So, pinch of salt. And it has the garlic that I put on the beans, the onions that I put on the beans. And then now I just added the taco seasoning, the paprika, the oregano. And on top of that, it has the flavor from the sausage, because this is the same pan that I used to cook the sausage. So it's like flavor on top of flavor. So you don't have to mash them finely. You could just keep them a little chunky, but I want to mash them a little bit more. And you know, all these things that I added to the beans, all these things, if you want to, you don't have to add, you know, you don't have to make the beans with the chicken broth. You could bake them in plain water, or you could bake them in vegetable broth. But because I like the flavor of my chicken broth, that's the reason why I like to cook them. So I'm going to cook the beans a little bit more. Gonna let them cook there. And then I think they have plenty of salt and they have a lot of flavor. Maybe I'll put a little bit more of the juice. I'll put a little bit more of the juice from the beans. So now I'm going to let them get all those flavors. Okay, so I'm going to show you the dough. So this is the dough. Doesn't that look beautiful? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the plastic. So I remove the plastic. So this is the pizza pan that I'm going to use. And I have a lot of dough in here. But for now, I'm just going to use part of it. Okay. So now what I like to do is to be able to manage the dough, because a lot of times, you know, if we put too much flour, then the dough is not going to be manageable. This way, you manage the dough and you shape it. I'm not going to put oil on the bottom of the pan because the pan is non-stick. And another thing too is that I already put oil on the dough, and I don't want the dough to be too greasy. So then what I'll do is I'll spread it out, you know, shape it out. And I have a little bit of the flour here. I didn't use all the flour. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use it to shape the dough. Okay. And I know that this way it's going to be a lot easier to shape it. Okay. So just spread it out. So you spread out the dough, and then if it breaks, you know, you could just bring it back together. I don't like my pizza dough to be too doughy. I like it kind of thinner, on the thinner side. Okay. And if it breaks, you know, if it separates, you could just go ahead and bring it back together. And so you see, bringing it back together. Let me move this out of here. I like to put a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano on top. And I'm going to pre-bake it. I bake it for about 5 minutes. And then we'll come back and you'll see what I'm going to do with it. I pre-cooked the pizza for about 5 minutes. The reason why I pre-cook it for 5 minutes is because I like the bottom to be a little bit crispier. And now, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the refried beans. So now I'll spread the refried beans on the bottom. So I'll put the refried beans on the bottom, and the refried beans smell amazing. You know, all those spices. I just made enough refried beans for this pizza here. And of course you can make more, you know, it's your recipe. So if you want it with more refried beans, you could go ahead and do that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add cheese. So I'm going to put some cheese on top of the refried beans. And it's always good. I just realized that it's better to have a bag of cheese, because then you could use whatever amount of cheese you want, you know. You don't want to be skimping on cheese. So So I'll put cheese on top of the refried beans. And this is mozzarella cheese. And now I'm going to put sausage. So this is the Jimmy Dean sausage. Store didn't have the spicy sausage. So what I did is I added pepper flakes to the sausage to make it spicy. I think this is enough sausage, although my husband may disagree with that. And now I'm going to add, my husband doesn't like black olives, but I'm going to put black olives on one side of the pizza. And then I'm going to add jalapeno peppers all over the pizza because we both like jalapeno peppers. And now I'm going to add more cheese. Everything tastes better with cheese. So it has the jalapeno pepper, it has the refried beans, it has the sausage, the Jimmy Dean sausage, it has the black olives, it has the jalapeno peppers, and now it has more cheese. You know, you can't go wrong with cheese. Now I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano on top. And I'm going to bake it in the oven. So the pizza is baking, and as you can see, I did not use all the baked beans because I'm not going to use them anytime soon. I'm going to put them in this container and then I'm going to freeze them. This I'm going to use in a couple of days, so I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. And now I also have some of the dough, some of the pizza dough. I always make a lot of pizza dough because I figure why go through the whole process every time I'm going to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the refrigerator in this safe bag. I'm going to seal it really well. So then I'll put this in the refrigerator, and when I'm ready to use it, I'll take it out and keep it at room temperature. You don't want to start working on dough straight from the refrigerator. You want to put it at room temperature and then start working with it. Okay, so there is your Mexican pizza. And what I like to do is I like to take it out of the pan and now I'm going to put a little bit of tomato. So I chopped some tomato and then I take a little bit of Parmigiano Reggiano and I sprinkle some Parmigiano Reggiano on top. And there you have it. There is your Mexican pizza. So let's cut it up. So the way I baked it is I baked it in the oven at 450 for about 15 minutes. And then I baked it, I put it on broil for the last 5 minutes because I wanted the cheese to get nice and crispy. I always like the cheese to be nice and crispy. I should probably wait until this cools off a little bit, but this looks so good that I don't think my family can wait. Okay, so let's see. So the pizza is nice and cheesy. It has a lot of that Jimmy Dean sausage. It has a lot of the homemade refried beans. So there is your homemade Mexican pizza. I have to try this. Let's see how it tastes. I have to cut it with a fork and knife because it's way too hot. Oh, look at this. Look at that. Look at the pizza. Look at how cheesy it is, how much sausage it has. So let's see. Try this. Make this for your family. You know, you could go out and pay $30 for somebody else to make this, but why? When you could make it at home. This is amazing. I love to hear all your comments. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.